last, and it looks like we are live.
There it is.
Yes. Oh man, I should not have looked at my phone before I went live. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that later. Should not have looked. Oh, I was turning the Wi-Fi off on my phone so they wouldn't absorb it from the stream, and of course there was a contact for somebody sent me a message.
Oh shit.
So I'm going to be thinking about that in the back of my mind as we go through
too.
here. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Well, here we are. Work Harder Weekly number 13.
Lucky number
13. Baker's dozen. Isn't that?
Yes. The Baker's dozen.
We have made it to number 13. You were absent last week, busy on assignment. That's okay.
Yeah.
You're busy. Man.
It's been crazy. Yeah. It's been just absolutely bonkers.
Yeah. Well, in a good way. I noticed you had kind of a big deal going on today by opening up the world basically at this point.
Yeah. So 54 countries we opened up to today. And I mean, fortunately, it's been good. Lots of people have been, asking us about that for quite some time. And thanks to Easy Export, we partnered with them for this whole process. And it's been a long time coming. We signed up for Easy Export back in December. Yeah. And the long and the short of it really was, we were going to run everything when we restocked at the end of December, but the system, I hadn't gotten fully comfortable with the system and didn't want to launch it in time, right then. And then we blew through our inventory super fast. And then we were like, all right, well, we're going to make the jump over to the next generation of products. And so it's just been, moving through the process. And then the last minute, it's been chaos going through. So I don't know if you know or if anybody else knows that's out there, but the Postal Service, there's actually been some changes in the way that the Postal Service handles exported items, especially that are identified as firearm parts or the like. There's a whole bunch of rejection happening on the international level when it comes to product going out of the country right now, which is, I haven't heard any stories about it, but I actually was just reading an email from Easy Export, they're one of the biggest companies in certainly in the United States that's facilitating these export agreements and all this other stuff. And they did a 60-day study of all of the tracking going on in and out of their system. And they actually said the Postal Service is no longer reliable for international shipments. They're being rejected at an alarming rate. And in their study, they looked at UPS and FedEx. And actually what happened was there was some sort of regulation. I got to be completely honest. I read everything that they sent me, but I haven't internalized it all.
Yeah.
The Postal Service changed the way that they do some things in regards to what we do. And then FedEx immediately, within 24 hours, changed their policy to now fill that void.
Okay.
And so, which is great, private market, right? Fantastic. Yeah. Capitalism wins in this case.
Yeah.
And
I have it from a previous business where I would ship a few things to Canada. And I think this is one of my hesitancies to kind of push into the international market per se through the similar, basically having shipped things to Canada when I was doing car parts. I had so many issues every time I sent something to Canada. It felt like I was shipping something to a third world country, because something that was literally right over the border in Canada. And now, granted, this was going on about 10 years ago now. It was very expensive, which being what it is, okay. And Number two, it would take forever. And then the third time, the third part of it was always destroyed. It was always destroyed.
Oh, their sorting system for whatever
in
for
Canada,
international packages are savages.
Post office has been good to me here in the U.S.
Yeah. Fuck. No, you're good.
Am I good? Okay.
Yeah, you're okay.
It froze on my end. It froze on my
just
for
a quick second.
Okay. Well, fuck it anyways.
That's right. That's right. Fuck it. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. My teleprompter, my Biden teleprompter broke. Shit. Yes, Canada. Well, Canada does have a third world dictator. I don't know who was back then, but it felt like I was shipping to a third world country, and I ate so many sales that it was part of my hesitance to do it again is that aside from
so I gotta be easy export has made this situation so much easier for us. Shout out to Jeff and April at Easy Export. So they're both attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jeff is an attorney. I'm almost positive April is too, but I know Jeff is. If I'm misspeaking, whatever. But they go through all the legal stuff, right? They do all, as far as what we do is obviously heavily regulated. They're the ones that handle all of the legalities, right? And then the customer registers. If they're outside of the United States, they register through Easy Export. And then Easy Export takes care of all the legalities. And then they tell us, all right, they give us a label, like all the little boxes and checks and all the stuff you have to do to make sure that you're legal and that you're good to go and that it gets there where it needs to go. And then it's good to go. So, it's like for them, like their business is still fairly young, but a lot of big name brands and big companies have already started using them. And everybody has had rave reviews. And I can tell you from my experience, like last weekend, I wanted to get the international shipping and stuff live last weekend. And I was on the phone with Jeff, the owner of Easy Export, for about an hour on a Saturday afternoon. And I mean, like, that's the kind of service that they've shown me since day one, like even before we signed up with them officially. Super, super good people. All of them over there are really, really awesome.
That's pretty cool. I'm gonna hold off for a while. I want to see how yours goes before I jump into something at this point. I'm barely above water as it is. I see Steven had an interesting postal experience where he had a package that was returned a month later. He was trying to collect the insurance, which is never easy. Like I said, I've had good luck with the post office. I don't normally use the insurance part of it. If something is lost, I normally just write it off and just build another and send it out. They opened it and made it look like damaged. I mean, I've had issues with UPS. They lost over 100 triggers back in December, which is, Christmas time makes, it did show back up, fortunately, but it was late. It was over a month late. FedEx, so far FedEx has been pretty good to me. I mean, they did lose a package years ago, but that's been years ago. So it's a crapshoot sometimes, feels like.
Yeah, there's never, and none of them are going to be 100%, right? No. I mean, in all reality, what we're asking them to do is really insane.
Yes.
I mean, like, think about it. This tiny little package, like our packages are 4 ounces roughly for a single product. But we put it in a 4x6 padded mailer that's black, which makes it worse, I'm sure. We asked them to ship it thousands of miles in a matter of days and get tracking and all that stuff. And they 99.9% of the time are perfect.
Yeah.
You're
right. The fact that the mail service is able to do what they do blows me away, because I know here in Louisiana, they're still running the old LLVs, which are nothing but glorified S10s with a Northrop Grumman or a Grumman, not Northrop Grumman, but Grumman aluminum body stuck on top of them that tend to want to catch on fire nowadays because they're old as fuck. So, granted, that's just the delivery part of it, but they've got planes and they've got diesel, they're more advanced, but still, it's insane when you think about just what they're able to do. It blows me away.
Stuart says that packages have to go through a mosh pit. Yeah, they might. So the good news is that obviously we use the U.S. Postal Service in the United States domestically, and we actually use them for shipments to American Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the other U.S. territories.
Yeah.
And then for international shipments, we have an agreement with FedEx. So, but all of those will travel by air. So, which is obviously good. FedEx ground, I don't know. The only thing we ever get from FedEx, we get some random McMaster car shipments from FedEx quite a bit. And then we get like I think PetSmart or Chewy, one of the two. We go back and forth depending on the discounts.
Yeah, I see FedEx, I see UPS, obviously post office every single day. I've gotten to know all of my delivery drivers pretty well. I see them just about every other day or so. They always ask, one of the UPS guy always asks about my car when I'm going to take it to the track, and I'm like, soon. I've been busy, but
I
it
gotta
does
get
run.
it running first.
Yeah, it does actually. Hey, it does run.
Now, yeah.
I had to get it running so I could put my Jeep in the way. So
there you go.
The green neon is running. I found out today that my boost gauge is 5 psi off after like 15 psi.
High
like
or
15
low?
High. It's reading high. So I'm actually not boosting as high as I thought.
Right. So you think you're at 25, but you're at 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
And almost, yeah. And what I did to figure that out, because I was getting some weird readings. I was looking at HP tuners and I'm like, what is wrong? Why is this not matching up? I'm looking as I was driving to an extent at what my boost gauge is saying. And I'm looking at what the map sensor is saying off the data log. And I'm like, these are not matching up. What is going on? And so it hit me. Well, what I will do is I will go out and I have a regulated boost leak checker. I can pressurize the system with my air compressor and I can regulate it to whatever PSI.
Yep.
And then, so I set it at 15 PSI. I went in and looked at the boost gauge. And at the same time, I activated HP tuners for a live data log so I could verify what the map sensor said. I knew. Damn internet. I knew what my regulator said, and then I could look at the map sensor and the boost gauge. So at 15 PSI, they all matched up. Things were good. So I cranked the boost up per se and put it to 20 PSI. Well, my boost gauge said 26 PSI. My map sensor said 20 PSI. I'm like, well, there it is. The old odometer is gone. So it's like 12 or 13 years old. So, it lasted that long.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm going to replace it with another one.
It lasted longer than your last turbo.
This is very true. And this turbo is still good. And I was wondering why it didn't feel like I thought it should have and why I was getting some wonky readings. So I'll replace that amongst other things. So, but it's alive. It's alive. Another thing is down. Another vehicle is down, but that's normal.
Oh.
Uh-oh. You in trouble?
Apparently. No, I think it's a false alarm.
Okay. Well, if you got to go, it's okay.
Hey, family first, but still.
Exactly. Family first. What else? I'm trying to think. Oh, Salient Arms. Does anybody recognize that name? Does anybody recognize that name anymore? Salient Arms made a big post that they are back. And it was kind of murky whether they were actually ever going. Granted, they went radio silent for like 3 years. think their last post that I saw social media wise was like 2021. So they've been radio silent. It's kind of iffy. But they're back, supposedly. And I wonder.
They got bought by somebody, I think.
Yeah. And
I think it's Aero Precision.
Maybe.
That's my thought.
I mean, they did say aviation, but I mean, everything says aviation grade 6061. So, I mean, there are a ton of companies that build aviation parts. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. But I mean, who is it? If it's Aero Precision, that could be interesting. I mean, Salient had a time and space and place in, years ago. They're going to have some money behind them. We kind of talked about this briefly yesterday when I messaged you that. Yeah. I just don't know if there's a spot for them unless they really just continue doing what they were doing.
I don't think so. I mean, it's my take on it, might be a hot take. What? I believe you've so many small companies have erupted doing crazy good work. And that market has become so saturated. It could be oversaturated, but I don't think so yet. I think that there are a lot of people who are doing insanely good work. And I think that even the larger companies, I mean, look at, Shadow Systems, for instance, like they're not a great company, but they're doing stuff that Salient is not going to be doing when they come back. Look at Agency. They're doing way more than Salient will ever do.
Yeah.
You look at companies like, you have PSA, right? If you're talking about just price point, right?
Yeah.
You have PSA down here, and they're doing more than Salient will ever do.
Correct.
Then you have companies that are on the high end that are doing more than Salient will ever do. And there's a whole bunch of companies in the middle that are doing as much as Salient was doing before, if not more than what they were doing before.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're just going to, in my opinion, they're going to get lost in the shuffle.
I think so. And I think their whole goal was, when they came out and we thought about Salient Arms, at the time there was Zev, which was like at the bottom was Glock Store and Lone Wolf. You had Zev, and then Salient came in and was like this high end, just Gucci, the original Gucci Glock, if you will, that came in and was featured in some movies and that sort of thing. And it was just really expensive for what you got. You definitely did not get a lot for your money, but it was a Salient Arms. And then you had the rise of Agency that came in, and they kind of, I see them as kind of the beginning of our modern trend of these crazy cuts for the slides. I don't want to say about the stipple because their stipple is still garbage to this day. It's gotten better, but as the whole market has gotten better, the smaller shops have definitely pushed that up. But where is the spot for Salient? And then you got Terran Tactical, where and even Terran has kind of pushed away from the Glock market into the 2011 market.
Yeah.
So, man, I don't know. Now, granted, Salient did have some shotguns. They had an AR, just like Agency does. But that's not going to really carry them very far.
Yeah. If in my opinion, if they come in and they do what Agency is doing, but they do it at 75 or 80% of the price, I think there's a market there. There might be. If they're coming in and they're doing full packages, where somebody can send in their gun, like with Agency, you can send in. Well, I don't know if you can now, but you used to be able to send in your gun and get the whole Agency treatment or whatever, and it was X amount of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know if you can on agency anymore. I think Terran you're still able to. It's going to be 3 or 4 years later, but you got
They got to wait for him to mature.
yeah, yeah. Well, Terran's not all about that maturing thing. He likes some. But as for Salient, I'll be interested to see what they end up doing. It's a different market, but it would be neat to see them. I don't know. I'm torn on it because part of me sees where the market is, and there's a lot of potential for it for a high end Glock.
Yeah,
My precious. Hey, Steven threw out the precious. I need to pull that patch down here and keep it with me. The taco patch.
God. It's so awful.
I don't remember who sent that to me.
I don't know, but whoever they did, I would like one as well.
It was years ago. I don't
I
remember
know.
who made it.
I know, but who knows? At some point in time, this might get seen by thousands of people. I want one of them motherfuckers.
I mean, we could probably make another one. I don't see it being a trademarked thing. Yeah. So Salient's coming back. That's an interesting deal, in a way. I mean, will it make a splash? I sincerely doubt it. I just don't see it making a big splash.
I hope so. I mean, yeah. I really do. Like, I always have positive. Like, I really do. I hope so.
Well, you're positive. I'm not.
Well, okay. I'm a positive skeptic.
Okay.
Right. So I believe that things work out for the better. Yeah. But I don't have faith in anyone else.
Well, yeah.
So
that's the thing. I look at it where, like, was there really anything missing from the market with them gone?
No, definitely not.
As I until I saw that post, I had pretty much forgot about them, unless somebody brought up one of the Canics from that original run, or
which is funny because they didn't even do anything. Like, they literally, Canic paid for them to put their name on it.
Yeah.
And Canic made all the parts. It still pisses me off to this day.
I think that was the last relevant thing they did before they closed down, because when that came out was 2019, like middle 2019.
So SHOT Show 2018, January of 2018 is when that gun debuted.
God, has it been that long ago?
Yeah, 6 years. But it didn't start hitting shelves until the summer.
Okay.
So it was the summer of 2018.
Okay. Yeah, it has been a long time ago. I didn't think it was that long, but it has. I had one for one of my customers had a YouTube channel. He sent me his to take a look at.
Yep.
Man, it's been a while. But I think that was the last real relevant thing that they had done. I see Terran Tacticals kind of took their place in my eyes. I feel like, because there for a while, if it was a Glock on a movie as a character gun, it was Salient Arms.
Yeah.
Good guy or bad guy.
Yeah.
I will take.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I think the first John Wick had Salient Arms as the bad guys had Salient Arms Glocks.
Did they?
I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to try to pull that up.
So I would swap Salient for Terran if Terran went out of business all day long. I would do that. I would take that swap all day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like because of everything that happened with that, I just, you know.
Well, he's a weird dude. Let's not even.
Yep.
Okay, Glock 17, Salient Arms. Okay, high-ranking members of the mob used Salient Arms Glock 17 Tier 1 pistols throughout the film.
Nice.
So, yeah. Like I said, because you remember the first John Wick was not a big budget, massive movie that the previous ones have kind of, or the following ones are. And that was before Terran got involved with them.
I
That
thought
really helped put them on the map.
I
Terran
see.
Tactical.
I thought John. I thought he had a combat master in the first film.
No, he was using HK P30s.
He wasn't. It was a P30.
It
You're
was a
right.
P30
He
with
had a combat master in the second one.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The first one he used HKP 30s. In the one of the first scenes where he's getting weapons in the Continental, they talk about an upgrade to the Combat Masters from his old P30s. So yeah, in the first one he's using P30s.
That's not an upgrade. P30 was a better gun.
In many ways, yeah.
In my opinion.
The triggers are still terrible. I know.
That's
there's
true.
kits to fix them, but I mean, granted, an original Combat Master trigger wasn't great either, and the new ones aren't great. They're all Timneys. So I mean,
yeah, Terran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's a whole other situation.
They give him like they do the other YouTube channels, the big ones. They give them the good ones that that they've checked over and make sure that they work and have some special goodies for them. So, hey, whatever. Looks like they're listing their own Glock copycat 2011s. ARs and shot. Are you talking Terran or are you talking Salient, Stuart?
If that's Salient, then I would think that's Salient. So if that's Salient, then they're basically just coming out with the same stuff that they were doing before.
Well, they weren't doing any. Well, were they?
They did have 1911 packages.
They did have 1911 packages through Nighthawk, wasn't it? I think Nighthawk was doing their.
I don't know. I don't remember. I remember them being on the website though.
I used to look at the website every once in a while because
I know Agency did packages with Nighthawk.
Maybe that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Agency did operator packages with Nighthawk.
That's who it was. Salient just had some. It's been so long since I've been to their website. I mean, I would still just because it would be neat to own an older Salient, just to have one. I'm kind of a collector about certain things, so it'd be neat to have one.
I want a Fatal 15. I really that's all I've ever wanted. I want a Fatal 15.
Tell me what that is real quick.
Okay. All right. So, and you're going to hate this because it's not, the trigger is not great. However, you have 3 of the major aftermarket guys that kind of came together and they did, I don't remember how many. I know that the original run was 15. That's why they called it the Fatal 15.
Okay.
It was Agency, Blown Deadline, and SSVI.
Well, that's old school.
Yes. And, I mean, they were ridiculous. They were like $5,000.
Was that the Glock 19 that they did?
I thought it was a 17.
Maybe it was 17.
I thought it was a 17.
I remember those. Yeah. Yeah. And all it was, and no offense to SSVI, but his work was decent, but it wasn't amazing.
No, but I want one. I want one because that is okay. It's like a 1960 Chevy Corvette.
Yeah.
Beautiful in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
But the 283 was a dog. Like, it's not a race gun.
No, I get it.
It's a historical figure.
I like things like that. In a way, for me, the Salient would be kind of the similar deal. It's not that it's the best; it's just a moment in time.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a moment in time. It speaks of its.
You and I are students of the game, right? Like, and I think you have to be. Like, if you're passionate about your industry, you have to know where it came from. Mm-hmm. And you to have any idea of where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And looking back at Salient, Agency when they first started, there's a few other little companies here and there. that just the original kill shot precision stuff like that. It reminds me of that kind of era too. Like Zach, I don't like Black Phoenix stuff. I love Zach. He's, whatever. Kill shot precision for me, it's like that. When they changed over, it's like when Kobe Bryant went from 24 to 8.
Yeah.
Or 8 to 24, I'm sorry. Or Michael Jordan went from 23 to 45.
Kill shot precision. I remember when Zach first really started up manual machining, and I was on the list for one of his first. It was really ugly. I mean, he's come a long way. It was just some real basic lines in a slide, and I ended up dropping out because I didn't have the money at the time really to do it, to justify it. This is early on. This is pre-Tactical Pontoon. And it wasn't my style. He was trying out some different styles. He's got some amazing, like Black Phoenix stuff really is pretty clean. And then the kill shot stuff was really clean. But I bought my first Glock 22 back when people were parting guns for P80 builds. I bought a couple slides from him early on. I remember when he first started. He's definitely grown. But yeah, it's funny to see how some of those smaller companies have grown.
Yeah, when he started going to the razor cuts, like the original razor cut was probably one of my favorites. That was right when TJ and them were doing the Valkyrie and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like those, and I mean, I had just gotten a Hive 2 slide, which I just saw your pictures for.
Everybody loves that slide.
I know. I still have mine. It's amazing. I was so obsessed with the 19X before it came out. I took a 19 and a 17 and made one myself.
Yeah. And
it was like, so I mean, machined the recoil spring and all that shit to make sure that it was good to go. And, so yeah, but that's what my 13-year-old actually shoots that really, really well. Nice. So.
Well, I see Stuart brings up United. Originally, it was United R&D. Now that I think they just shortened it to United Firearms. I have some of his I had one of his earliest works, and unfortunately, I got swindled out of that slide. Long story. Maybe I'll go through it one day. But I have one of his later slides that I sent off right as he was getting into CNCing, and it actually sat in his shop for about a year and a half. And finally he got it done, and it's called the Sketchy package, and it's no longer available. But I remember when Mike and pre-Jason at United R&D were, he was just out of his garage doing stuff on the side. It's weird to think how long both you and I have been you've been in this business longer than I have. I mean, I still feel like I'm a relative newcomer, but so much stuff has changed.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it till you stop and think, wow, that's been years now.
Yeah. It's funny because I was just talking with my wife about this. Like a year from now, we will be celebrating 10 years as a business.
Wow.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, it moves fast, but like, dude, in a 10-year period, I feel like the aftermarket firearms industry has moved decades.
It feels like it, because when
crazy,
just looking back at what was popular and making the rounds when I first really got into, paying attention to this stuff. I mean, P80s were massive. They had just dropped. They were selling off the final rounds of the original clunky P80
V1s.
Whatever they called it originally. I've got the box around there somewhere.
Spectre.
They were finally getting rid of I don't have it anymore. I actually gave that away. Spectre box. They were getting rid of the first run of P80s. They had just started dropping the G19 V2s.
Yep.
And I can remember buying up a bunch of the original P80s for like $60 at the time. And that's they're still around. They're doing stuff, but it's not the massive thing that it is now. You know, now, you know, I really look at daggers are, you know, they're a massive part. A lot of the end of the P80 guys seem to have kind of moved over into the dagger space. Those who aren't super concerned about the, you know, they just want to build something. They'll go buy a dagger frame for, I think they're like $70 now.
Yep.
It's just weird to see where the market is now. The price that people want to pay, and then granted, I understand, you know, our finance, you know, our financial situation is not the greatest compared to back then. So, you know, I can definitely understand why people want to build as cheap as possible. Yep. But I feel like there was still a lot more higher end builds. I mean, there are plenty of high end builds nowadays, but it feels like it's a different market than it was then.
Yeah,
perspective.
I agree. I think that, you know, throughout the 2016 election, the 2020 COVID stuff, and all of that, things have changed for people as well. I think the environment and the goals of your, you know, day-to-day collector are different than they used to be too. So, I mean, a lot of that's changed in those ways as well. So there's a lot of environmental stuff on top of the economic stuff, on top of, you know, there's just, I mean, Brownells was big in that part too, when they started introducing Glock slides, and that kind of stuff, you know,
just the
huge.
Yeah, just the amount of options nowadays.
Yeah.
In the last, call it 6 years, 5 to 6 years, has just gone through the roof. It used to be very few places you would have to send your slide out to get it milled. There were very few places that had slide blanks. Anytime you wanted, it's almost to the point nowadays, if you have a factory slide,
I mean, you can sell it for more than buying another one.
Yeah.
For sure. I know right where you're going with that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and then you got to send it out, you know, to go get one milled. It's like, well, at that point, for another $50 to $100, they'll just mill a brand new slide. I might as well just keep this factory one factory. Yeah. I was looking at that Glock 17 slide that I got from you, that Gen 4, which I thought, you know what, I think I got a place for that. And then I was like, no, you know what? I'm just gonna. It's weird. It ended up being a Glock 19X is what it's gonna be. I
19L?
No, 19X. This is weird. Okay. Do you remember or know of anything about the Zero Delta frame, the modular frame?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was tossing around different ideas of what I wanted to do with it, and because it's modular, you can change the dust cover. And you can turn it from a 19 to a 17, to a 34, to a 19L, to whatever. And it's just crazy. Not one that I would recommend for one, for a budget, and two, to rely on, but it's a neat idea. Long story short, I'm sending it out to have it stippled and some Cerakote, and I'm going to do the slide as well, but it's going to be a 19X instead of the 17. So
nice.
Yeah.
Who are you sending it to, Will?
No, I'm actually sending it to Cody at Cure Customs.
Oh, yeah.
I said it right. Yeah. First time I'm working with him on a frame. Does some awesome work. So I was like, hey, go crazy.
I just saw that hybrid 2 texture. That was him, wasn't it?
That was him.
Yeah, that's sweet, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks pretty good. I told him, just go ahead.
Go crazy.
Go crazy. It's an FD frame. But it's probably going to end up black, and then the slide's going to end up black as well. And then he'll, you know, stipple it, and the FD will come out depending on the polymer.
I'm telling you, as a custom business owner for a number of years, and as you would know this, giving someone the creative ability to do what they do best, and really surrendering to their creative process, is the best way to get way more for your money. I tried to explain this to people for years. Just let me go.
And they'll probably come up with something that's more cohesive.
Yeah.
Because they know what looks really good. Not to say that somebody might not, but having dealt with and, talked to different people that do framework and builds like that, sometimes I'll hear horror stories of, they changed their mind on this. They want to change the pattern here. They want to, not do the accelerator cut. That shade of Cerakote wasn't exactly what they were looking for, or whatever the deal is. Whenever I send, unless I have something directly in mind, or sometimes it's just a theme, I just say, go at it, do what you do. And whatever it ends up being, if it's got a gigantic dong on it, that's what you wanted to do. And that's what you want people to see when I share the pictures. Go at it. Please don't do that to me, anybody. But I mean, I have lasered one inside somebody's mag extension, but
I've Cerakoted one on the inside of a slide.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes it happens. But I normally let them have full creative control. A few of them we've kind of come across. We've developed a design, but I'm not one of those people that's just like, it's got to be this exact way, because I may have a picture in my head, but that picture may not be very good.
Well, and the picture, the more solidified the picture is in the customer's head, the easier it is to understand if they can clearly communicate it. That's the hard part.
That is hard. That is difficult.
The creative process for people is different, and being like, I loved doing Cerakote for people. And that creative itch will never go away. Like, I'm still going to take jobs here and there just to scratch that itch. But when someone, like, I'll tell you a quick story, right? I had a guy who brought me, and he wanted like a post-apocalyptic shotgun. Okay. This was an 870, and he brought it to me. It had Magpul furniture on it, which, at the time was pretty good setup, and he was pretty happy with it. For whatever reason, on the loading bar, right?
You were doing this number here a little too much.
This, yes.
Okay.
This motion.
Okay.
I'm quad loading.
Maybe you're unloading. Anyways, 870 with Magpul.
On the loading bar, the piece that comes up when you're trying to load and then comes down, whatever.
Yeah.
So he wanted caution tape, like this caution tape look. And so he wanted the yellow and black stripes is what he asked me for. And he says, I want just yellow and black stripes. And so, but we're doing the whole gun. The whole gun looks fucking kick ass, dude. Spent hours on it, killing it, right? Me, like, I killed it.
Yeah.
And I did this bar, and I'm looking at it proportionally. I do 3 black, 4 yellow. So like it's got the right proportions for the look.
Yeah.
Of the and he goes, I was thinking 5 stripes.
Oh no.
Instead of 4.
Oh no.
And I'm like, well, you didn't tell me that. Like, I have to know. Like, your picture in your mind is what I'm trying to bring forward. Right.
And I was trying to make it look right.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the communication of like said idea is really, really important.
It really is. And I've got one that I sent to Clint over at Sapper Tactical, and I had a general idea of a theme that I wanted. Now, in my mind, I had something a little bit different, but I also said, hey, I sent him a picture of a couple examples of the theme. And I said, this is kind of what I'm thinking. have at it. And what he came up with is different than what I envisioned.
Yep.
But it's as good, if not really better. When the whole package comes together, and it's getting close to being done. It's beautiful. It's not what I envisioned exactly. It's better. And if I had, made phone calls, done, sketches and sent it to him, I really feel like even though it was everything that I envisioned and wanted, it wouldn't have ended up near as good as what he ended up putting together. And because he does it pretty much on a regular basis, he actually does a lot more themed builds than a lot of the guys out there. So just letting him do it and then just being, I mean, it's so badass. I can't wait to show that one off.
And you know what? Ultimately, that's what it's all about, right? Like for me, like you should be proud of what you have, regardless of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you're going to pay good money to bring it to somebody or have somebody do it.
Yeah.
And you have an idea of a theme in mind. And when that all comes together, you, the customer, you in this particular case, should be ecstatic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and for me, like when I get excited about a project, the end result is better, you know. I'll vice versa. If I'm not excited about a project, I don't want to do it. And that's just God's honest truth. I had another customer, God bless him, good dude.
Yeah.
He brought me an AR, Palmetto State AR, and it had like the cheapest garbage on it, you know. And he brings it to me and he says, I have a and I forgot this particular color, but he had like a candy orange Dodge Charger RT.
Okay.
So you know that like that bright ass orange color.
Yeah. It's I forget the exact name. I know the color, and it'll come to me as you're talking. So
he says, I want the entire rifle, everything, every part on the gun, hunter orange. Every part, barrel, gas block, everything, every part.
Oh man,
hunter orange, all monotonous orange.
Wow.
And I'm like, I sat down. I'm sitting down at the bench. It's funny because the desk that I use now is the bench that I had in our front room for customers.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll do it. But I'm telling you, I think we should do this, and this.
Yeah.
Like, and I wasn't, I'll do what the customer wants. But I try and offer some input on some creative movements that might enhance the look. Because to me, what makes those colors, that bright purple, that lime green, that bright orange on those Dodge cars, is the black accents and the wheels. Yeah.
Contrast.
Absolutely. And
it's a little bit of contrast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just trying to get some little pieces in there that would really make that orange pop.
Yeah.
And he was like, nope, and God bless him. I did exactly what he wanted me to do. He wanted every part on that gun to be orange.
Yeah.
And I did it. Every part, from the standard A2 PSA stock all the way to the standard A2 birdcage.
Yeah.
Everything in between was hunter orange. Even the trigger and the internal parts, he wanted orange. And when he got there and he grabbed that gun, he was so happy. He brought his wife. They wanted me to take pictures with her holding the rifle in front of the Charger.
Really?
And I'm glad that he was excited, but God, that gun was awfully ugly.
Wow.
It was so ugly.
I'm really surprised he was that excited about it. It comes back. I find it's kind of like when video games, the early video games, when you first started doing polygons and stuff, and skin, you look at a person on, the figures and they look wrong. And it's because there's no contrast, no, a person's skin per se, and everything has, little differences that
Yep.
that have contrast, that gives things depth.
Yeah.
And if you just spray it one color, it just, I would see it looking kind of off. But that's why I'm not a painter or a Cerakoter or anything like that.
I mean,
I'd be in trouble.
I made the same mistake, and I tried to explain to him, my very first gun, I sent it out to a company called Parallax Tactical out of San Diego. And, I don't even know if they're still in business anymore, but they were hot to trot for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I sent it out to them, and 5 months later, I got an all FDE AR pistol.
Okay.
And when I say all, I mean every fucking part on that gun. Now, I mean, granted, they didn't understand batch differences and stuff like that. So all the steel parts looked one color, all the aluminum parts looked a different color because they didn't understand the heat. It's different when you heat dispersion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, I get it back. But I mean, when I put it together, I was like, this is terrible. I hate this.
Yeah.
And that's the gun, because I waited so long and I got it back and I was so disappointed. That's actually the reason why I started doing Cerakote on my own.
Isn't that funny how it goes? I mean, triggers, that's how I got into triggers. I tried a bunch. I was not happy. And next thing I know, I'm looking things up to figure out how to do it myself. And yeah, it's funny how I mean, look at Lamborghini. He bought a Ferrari that he hated, and Ferrari told him to go fuck off, and he decided to make a company.
Did you watch that movie yet? The one with Frank Grillo and Gabriel Byrne? Or not? Is it Gabriel Byrne? No, that's the singer, isn't it? Shit.
I just know that there is a movie. I know that there is a movie, but I haven't.
There's a couple movies. There's the one about Ferrari with Adam Driver, which I heard is terrible.
I've heard that was just horrendous, so I haven't watched that.
Yeah, now I got to look it up.
Okay, I know there's one with Lamborghini. The one that was really good was the Carroll Shelby with with Matt Damon and
Christian Bale.
Man, that was such a good movie. I got to go watch it again. You've
Lamborghini, the man behind the legend.
Yeah,
is the one that I'm talking about. So it had Frank Grillo, who has been in a bunch of stuff, if you don't know.
Yeah, he's kind of a background character actor normally.
Yep. And then Gabriel Byrne, who has been in an absolute shit ton of movies, including one of my favorite movies of all time, The Unusual Suspects.
I don't know if I've seen that. I'm actually
You have not seen Unusual Suspects?
I may have seen it. I've probably seen it, but I don't recall it offhand. So I'm gonna have to watch it before
Kaiser Soze. Does that ring a bell?
It does, but I think more from like references, pop culture references than actually.
You have got to be fucking kidding me, James. This is bullshit. Unacceptable.
Okay, I'm writing it down. It's unusual. No, unusual.
The Unusual Suspects.
Unusual Suspects. Watch before
tomorrow.
Being disowned.
Yes.
Okay. By
it's a shame.
Defense.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. I will watch it. I'll watch it.
I will shame post you on our business page.
I am already shamed. I am already shamed. Okay. I am shamed by many people. It's okay. But I will watch it for you. I will watch it because you haven't led me wrong as of this time. So the movie Boss Level with Frank Grillo. I can't say as I've seen that either.
I have not seen.
I guess I kind of suck. I haven't seen that. I did watch, and we talked about this earlier. I did end up rewatching Back to the Future. It's been a little while, and man,
Boss Level's a newer one. 2020 it came out.
Okay, but the cool thing about Back to the Future that they don't do with movies nowadays is it actually meshes and makes sense. I mean, granted, they filmed it all, I think, back to back or damn near close to back to back. But they actually make things work and things make sense. Whereas it seems like nowadays you go watch like a newer Marvel or Star Wars, and they forgot what happened in the last scene. So
Yeah.
it's it's nice to see where they actually pay attention and care about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Go figure. Go figure.
Yep. Yeah. Did you watch The Acolyte?
I'm not going to waste my time on that. No.
I've only heard terrible things about it.
Yeah, all I've having watched some of the, interviews about it where basically, you know, they're coming out, it's the gayest Star Wars of all time, and literally like from Disney themselves. It's like, okay, that's fine and all, but with your guys' track record of not being able to create a good story, why don't we look at like a good story before we go and try to save the world with gender identity? I just
Right.
I've given up on anything really that comes from Disney. Even I know you're excited about it.
No,
I'm kind of excited about it.
Don't say it.
I'm saying it. I am saying it. Deadpool 3.
Fuck.
I'm as excited as I can be for a Marvel movie at this point. And at one time that would have really hurt to say, but after all of the disappointments in the last 6 years, it's like, man, I think it's going to be good. I think
it better be
it's gonna
spectacular.
I don't know if it's going to be spectacular. I think you're going to want it to be spectacular, and the first time watching it, it's going to be amazing. But then when you go back and watch it again, you're going to think all of this promise is going to go to waste. For me, it's almost like when I watched the last Spider-Man movie. It was really cool to see all of the different Spider-Men come together. The story wasn't the greatest in the world, but you got to see some really cool stuff. But I haven't watched it since, because as time has gone on, I'm like, so much wasted potential. It's like it's good, and it's still going on per se, the series, if you will. But there's so much that's wasted that it's like, man, is it really even worth it at that point?
So I was thinking about this. My youngest daughter loves Into the Spider-Verse, the Miles Morales movies, the animated ones.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I think they're fucking amazing movies. Both of them are fucking spectacular.
I've been told that. I haven't seen them.
Both of them are amazing movies.
Yeah.
And I thought about it last time. Apparently they want to move Miles into Marvel, into the MCU, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, they want to do that soon, because we're getting into the storyline where Miles, it matters, right? And so he's going to be there at some point in time. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I've watched so many Marvel movies at this point. Like, I know how to do this and do it right. And it's like, how fucking amazing would it be? Because I won't spoil it, but there's a third Into the Spider-Verse film coming.
Correct.
And how amazing would it be if, for the first time since God knows when, Roger Rabbit or whatever,
kind of at the end where it goes live action,
literally he jumps into a wormhole or a universe, whatever, and pow, he's live action. And that's how you introduce Miles. Yep. It's all canon. It's all the way it's supposed to be, and it brings it right in.
I got no problem with that. I really don't have any. I don't have any problem with that. The real problem is Disney themselves and where they've taken the whole series. I would leave work. I was a supervisor for military aircraft, and I would leave work. I would do everything I could to get things set up. And I got reprimanded several times for my actions to go watch these movies. I kid you not. To go see them early on a Thursday, the pre-showing. I had already gotten tickets. I would go wait in line. I had a friend at the time who worked flight line where we had aircraft on the flight line. She would actually end up she'd sometimes be late. I would be the one who had to go get the tickets early and get in line and actually be in the theater. She would actually have to come late, and she got in trouble. That was our thing. We would go see all of the new Marvel movies coming out, and that actually stopped right around the time that we ended up seeing Endgame, and she ended up moving to Alaska. But so like it was kind of the end of an era already, but there was still hope for the series. So like I said, I was one of those guys that I was diehard. And now I mean, like, it hurts.
Oh, the whole story. I mean, everything ended at Endgame, in my opinion. The next phase of all of it has been awful.
When they said we're gonna make TV shows, I was afraid. It was before I was worried about the Disney thing. I had a inkling, and I really wasn't paying it too much attention. I was just enjoying it. But when I heard they were going to start doing these TV shows, I'm like, you're gonna spread it too thin. And then I noticed that they didn't have any real, direction. And the stories, I could notice the stories were getting worse. And then I was just like, I'm pretty much done. Like, I tried. I watched some, and then I end up skipping a bunch because it's like there's nothing. You guys can't tell a good story anymore. You're not hiring good directors. You've gotten rid of all of the original Avengers, or you've made fools of them, or it's just.
I know the Thor movies piss me off so much.
Oh, the last one was just a joke. It was horrible. I did watch that one. I was like, you know what? Let me go try.
I saw it in the theater. Yeah,
I saw it in theater.
And it's like my family loved the goats, and that was it. That was it.
I owned goats on the farm when I was a kid, so that was annoying for me. I didn't even find it that. Personally, I thought that was dumb. Yeah, hopefully Ryan Reynolds won't let him fuck it up, but who knows? Yeah, he did do Green Lantern. He wasn't quite as popular as
he didn't have the star power that he has now. Okay,
he didn't have billions of dollars just sitting after selling Mint Mobile.
So I'm gonna go down the list here. The problem is Disney. Absolutely
true. Done.
Stuart says the Sony Marvel movies are awful too, though. Okay,
they are. They absolutely are.
I'm gonna give you. I think the original Venom movie is pretty good. I'm a big Venom fan. They're not like the comic books. It needs to be way darker, more violence. It needs to be R-rated for sure. The whole Woody Harrelson as Carnage could have been good. Show.
He could have been good though.
Could have been amazing.
I was so excited when I saw that they cast him.
Yeah, I mean,
and it was waste.
Cletus Cassidy for me, that should have been.
That should have been.
I hold that story so near and dear to my heart. Maximum Carnage for me is the pinnacle of Spider-Man comic books across the board.
Yeah.
The Maximum Carnage series was fucking amazing.
I agree.
And they blew it because I thought Cletus Cassidy at the end of Venom 1 was fantastic, minus the weird hair. But I got it. Cletus Cassidy was weird.
He was weird, and it worked. I thought, oh shit, we are going to, the first movie, it was decent. It set up their little world in this, different, wasn't, I liked it. Yeah. And then the second one, I'm like, you guys wasted the coolest. I mean, it was bad enough when they wasted Venom in Spider-Man 3. Okay.
Oh God. Yeah. No, I think they're one and the same. I think Topher Grace as Venom is just as bad as Woody Harrelson in Carnage 2. Not the actors. Woody Harrelson had every ability.
Woody Harrelson could have nailed that if they gave him the right script and abilities. He would have I was so excited.
He should have been a multi-movie villain.
Yes.
For sure.
Without a doubt.
I mean, it's insanity.
We've turned it into a comic movie little into the podcast here, which is fine. I could go on and on about oh God, just all of the wasted. opportunities that they've squandered. But yes, Sony has not been better in many ways with their handling of superhero movies. No doubt about it.
Oh yeah, Morbius was terrible.
Didn't even watch it.
It was just awful. So awful.
So it's just the state of movies at this point. I mean, I'm normally a person that likes going to the theater, but here, like this year especially, I've gone like twice. I think twice this year. I can't remember what the last one I watched. I wasn't. I grew up with Mad Max. Like my dad introduced me to Mad Max. Like he was all about it. So I watched Mad Max. I watched, Out of Thunderdome. That was like when people say Out of Thunderdome. Like I'm old enough that I remember what that actually means. It's not really a thing anymore. But I tried years ago watching Fury Road. I actually fell asleep during that. It was not. Everybody, that's the greatest. I fell asleep during it. I didn't feel like it connected to
it. Didn't. It was just another action movie in the desert.
Yeah.
For me. Now, Furiosa, a lot of people have got me curious because people are saying Furiosa is really good.
I've heard mixed bag. I've heard it's just another adventure movie out in the desert. So it was one I kind of passed. So Dune Part 2 was amazing. Yes.
No spoilers. I literally just watched. I'm behind.
That's okay.
We just watched Dune 1 last night. Literally last night.
The second one, if you've never, do you know the Dune story? Did you know anything about it previous to this?
I watched the original movie.
I did too. I grew up with that one.
Yeah. And so I know some of it,
I watched the original when I was a kid and thought it was cool, creepy and weird at the same time. And then I've actually read all of the original books by Frank Herbert.
Okay.
I've actually read the books. They get really weird. Like it's a weird series. There's no doubt about it.
I heard there's 20 something books now. The kids picked them.
His son and like a ghostwriter and stuff. They used his father's notes, which of course I think he was like on heroin partway through writing some of them. I've heard. I'd have to look that up, but which wouldn't surprise me.
Spice.
Yeah, he was on the Spice. It gets really weird. It gets crazy. And by the time the original books end, it's like 10,000 years later.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Paul is really only in the first 2 books, which is 3 movies at this point. And then his character dies, and it's actually his son that goes on for thousands and thousands of years. But it's an interesting one. But they did a really good job in this latest one from the latest Dune movies. So yes, watch the second one. I did see that one in theaters.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You should see it. But
we're gonna have to get off here soon.
Yeah, I got stuff. Unfortunately, I need to get done. I'm still behind.
Tell me about it.
I know you're behind too. You missed it. Well, I told you about it. I told you about the O site, but I told you a little bit about it. I'm not going to do a video on it. There's 1,000 videos on it. People who know more about optics than I do can judge it. But I had thoughts about it. For the first try,
overall, give me 60 seconds on it.
For the first try, I think it's something I'd throw on a shotgun and if it'll survive. Would I utilize it as an EDC? No. Would I use it out on the range for playing around? Yes. Would I throw it on a shotgun that sat in a corner? Yes. They got their biggest shortfall, in my opinion, at this point, without beating it up, and I would say is the glass.
Quality or tint?
It's kind of, I would say, quality. There's definitely some parallax going into it. It has some very noticeable parallax that my Swamp Fox doesn't have. My EPS, Holosun EPS, my RMR doesn't have. It just has a noticeable parallax that the other ones just don't seem to have, or just aren't as noticeable.
The one thing that I noticed in the videos that you sent me that day, I think it was that day, was also there's a whole lot of frame to it. Like around the glass, there's just a whole big ass box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like it should have been enclosed. Like it really feels like it's so big that it should have been enclosed. And I think they were running for a price point and a certain durability, because I bet you could beat it. I haven't watched any videos on it. I didn't watch any videos on it. I just ordered it because I was told about it a little bit early. And I thought, you know what? I'll take a look at it. Sure. And for what I paid for it, I didn't get any. I just got their special deal that they were running. I think it was like $160 for the red version. I got somebody knocking on my door. So let me get out of here. But somebody's knocking on my door. It's a beautiful thing about live streams. But yeah, that's the thing on the O site. So all right, let's get out of here. I'll catch you. I'll catch everybody next week, and we'll do this again.
Sounds good. See everybody.
All right, later.
Later.